Hello, everyone. It's Cricket. It's good to see you again. Hope you're all doing well and happy. Hi, Marianne. Hi, Stephen. Do the verse of the Kesa. Vast is the road of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Vast is the robe of liberation, a formless field of benefaction. I wear the Tathagata's teaching, freeing all creations. Evening, Daphne. Gauta of Atonement. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. All evil karma ever committed by me since of old, on account of my beginningless greed, anger, and ignorance, born of my body, mouth, and thought, now I atone for it all. Fragrance of this incense invites the awakened mind to be present. It fills our sacred space, guards our minds from wrong thinking. Fragrance of this incense unites us with virtue, mindfulness, and wisdom. We offer it on behalf of all beings. Homage to the Buddha. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. I go to the Buddha for refuge. Being one with the Buddha, I resolve to each day follow the way of life he laid down for us to walk and awaken to his supreme wisdom. I go to the Dharma for refuge. Being one with the Dharma, the gates of Dharma are manifold. I vow to enter them all. The goal of wisdom is ever beyond. I shall attain it. I go to the Sangha for refuge. Being one with the Sangha in the spirit of universal fellowship, and as a member of the Sangha, I pledge myself to strive for the enlightenment of all beings. The Metta Sutta. This is what should be done by one who is skilled in goodness and who knows the path of peace. Let them be able and upright, straightforward and gentle in speech, humble and not conceited, contented and easily satisfied, unburdened with duties and frugal in their ways, peaceful and calm and wise and skillful, not proud and demanding in nature. Let them not do the slightest thing that the wise would later reprove. Wishing in gladness and in safety, may all beings be at ease. Whatever living beings there may be, whether they are weak or strong, omitting none, the great or the mighty, medium, short, or small, the seen and the unseen, those living near and far away, those born and to be born, may all beings be at ease. Let none deceive another or despise any being in any state. Let none through anger or ill will wish harm upon another. Even as a mother protects with her life her child, her only child, so with the boundless heart should one cherish all living beings, radiating kindness over the entire world, spreading upward to the skies and downward to the depths, outward and unbounded, freed from hatred and ill will, whether standing or walking, sitting or lying down, free from drowsiness. One should sustain this recollection. This is said to be the sublime abiding. By not holding to fixed views, the pure-hearted one, having clarity of vision, being freed from all sense desires, is not born again into the world of suffering. May I be happy and well. May no harm come to me. May I learn compassion. May all my friends, family, and those I love be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those troubled in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those who have hurt me in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all those I have hurt in body, mind, and spirit be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all my enemies be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. May all living beings be happy and well. May no harm come to them. May they learn compassion. Hello, Nina. We'll do a 20-minute silent meditation. And I'm using the timer, so if you're using the timer instead of, if you're muting your computer, you can do that right now. Buddha nature pervades the whole universe, existing right here now, and reciting the sutras, hearing the Dharma, and training the mind. Great merit is attained. We dedicate this merit to the great Master Sakyamuni Buddha, to the all-pervading and everlasting three treasures, to all ancestors of the Sangha and all beings in the Dharma world. May the Dharma body maintain strength and health, and years of life be lengthened for all teachers of this Sangha. Let their vows be fully realized, and may they live in perfect peace with Buddha Dharma. We pray for the health and well-being of all those suffering from diseases of body, mind, or spirit, and those ministering to the sick and the grieving. We pray for those suffering from violence, for the oppressed, the imprisoned, and all the refugees. May they be serene through all their troubles, and may we realize the enlightened way together. Sabe sata sadahantu avera sukha jivino katang punya phalang maihang sabe bhagi bhavantu te. May all beings always live happily, free from animosity. May all share in the blessings springing from the good we have done. Life is a compromise between being far enough away I can read things, close enough I can see them. So there's a sutra, the Vitara Sutta, means strengths in detail. That's kind of interesting. I don't know. I don't think I've ever talked about it before. It's not an uncommon sutta. It's out there, and it's in the Pali Canon, and it basically tells you how to practice to develop spiritual strengths. This is different from the 5 spiritual powers, the 5 bala, which is also a good talk. There's 5 strengths that come that you need in order to train. So I'll just read it. It's fairly short. Monks, there are these 5 strengths for one in training. Which 5? Strength of conviction, strength of conscience, strength of concern, strength of persistence, and strength of discernment. And what is strength of conviction? There's the case where a monk, a disciple of the Noble Ones, has conviction, is convinced of the Tathagata's awakening. And this is in quotes. Indeed, the Blessed One is worthy and rightly self-awakened, consummate in knowledge and conduct, well gone and expert with regard to the world, unexcelled as a trainer for those people who can be trained, the teacher of divine and human beings, awakened, blessed. This, monks, is called the strength of conviction. I'll talk about these more after I read this. And what is the strength of conscience? There's the case where a disciple of the Noble Ones feels shame, I don't like the word shame, but feels shame at the thought of engaging in bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. This is called the strength of conscience. And what is the strength of concern? There's a case where a disciple of the Noble Ones feels concern for the suffering that results from bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. This is called the strength of concern. And what is the strength of persistence? There's the case where a monk, a disciple of the Noble Ones, keeps his persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful mental qualities and taking on skillful mental qualities. He is steadfast, solid in his effort, not shirking his duties with regard to skillful mental qualities. This is called the strength of persistence. And what is the strength of discernment? There's the case where a monk, a disciple of the Noble Ones, is discerning, endowed with discernment of arising and passing away. Noble, penetrating, leading to the right ending of stress. This is the strength of discernment. These monks are the 5 strengths of one in training, and thus should you train yourselves. We will be endowed with the strength of conviction, that is the strength of one in training, with the strength of conscience, the strength of concern, the strength of persistence, the strength of discernment, that is the strength of one in training. That's how you should train yourselves. So first, for those of you who are new to some of this stuff, these are a lot of the suttas Sutta is the Pali word, sutra is the Sanskrit word. A lot of these discourses are very repetitious because it made it easy to memorize, and these things were taught um, through an oral tradition for a very long time before anybody wrote them down. And so a lot of these things are really designed to be kind of repetitious so that it helps you remember them. But we'll unpack it a little bit. So this first one, the strength of conviction, and he says, here's how what that means. And he says a monk is convinced of his awakening. And then he has these quotes. The Blessed One is worthy and rightly self-awakened, consummate in knowledge and conduct, well gone and expert with regard to the world, unexcelled as a trainer for those who can be trained, teacher of divine and human beings, awakened, blessed. So that paragraph actually is one of the things that you recite every morning, or I think it's in the morning chanting in the Thai order, and probably a lot of Theravada orders. And so when you do your daily chanting, this is one of the things that you recite. And so these are basically, this is in order to arouse and firm up your conviction. So what does it mean, conviction? It means that you have determination based on this understanding that that this awakening is possible to you. It's convinced of the Tathagata's awakening, but that doesn't mean anything if you're not convinced of your own capacity for awakening. Does that make sense? So, and then it was sort of like, well, why follow this particular teacher? I remember in the Buddha's day, there were a lot of teachers around who had practiced asceticism, and then they would sort of hold court for people and teach their teachings and that kind of stuff. And so it's like, well, why follow this one instead of one of the others? And he says he's worthy and rightly self-awakened. In other words, we recognize that he has done the work that it takes to wake up. So this is important. We don't follow teachers just because they have a credential, or just because they have a title, or dress a certain way, or whatever. We follow teachers because they've done the work that will, so they know what to do in order to achieve what we want to achieve. And so that's the whole, the purpose of going for refuge in the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, is that Buddha is one who has done something that we can do if we do what he did. So worthy and rightly self-awakened, consummate in knowledge and conduct. So in other words, knows what needs to be known and what needs to be done. How should you live your life in a way? And this is not moralizing. This is not, God says you have to do this, or the Buddha has decided that he's going to judge everybody based on what they do. No, if you want to wake up, if you want to develop what the Buddha developed, the capacity that he did, the ability to be free from your suffering, what do you have to do? And so that's the conduct. So consummate knowledge, I know what needs to be done, and I've done it. I know how to do it. And so you're saying, I recognize this, so I'm going to follow this example. Well gone. In other words, gone the whole path. An expert with regard to the world, understands the way things work. Unexcelled as a trainer. So the translation here that I'm looking at, which is by Thanissaro Bhikkhu, says a trainer for those people fit to be tamed. I don't know that I've seen that translation elsewhere. That's not what we used, I don't think, when at the Thai temple when I was a monk there, or when I was just going in for services and stuff. Basically, people who have the capacity to train. There are people who don't. There's people who are lazy. There's people who They haven't done the foundation stuff yet. And so he's saying, uh, you can't train someone who doesn't want to be trained, who doesn't want to put in the effort. I use Tai Chi as a metaphor for this a lot of times. I've been teaching Tai Chi for a long time, and and it's different, but it's similar. And I could be talking. I mean, if I were a guitar teacher, I could say the same thing, or piano teacher, or anyone who teaches. Somebody can come to me and say, "Oh, I'd really like to learn Tai Chi." Okay, well, here's what it requires to learn Tai Chi. Oh yeah, I don't want to do that. I'd practice every day. Really, you got to practice every day? No, I can't do that. I just want to show up for class once in a while when I get the urge. Well, you're not going to get anywhere, right? So we're being realistic here. That when it comes to teachers, you can't find a better one when it comes to teaching people who actually will put in the effort to learn. Teacher of divine and human beings. So I don't know how important that is, honestly, but it's in the mythology. There are a number of cases where the Buddha teaches the dharma to heavenly beings. Actually, I guess that is kind of important because we think sometimes that to be reborn in heaven, that's great, or whatever. And in our culture. In Western culture and a lot of religions, that's the objective. You want to go to heaven. In Buddhism, you want to go beyond even that. And so there were devas, and that sort of thing, who would come to him for instruction because they knew that eventually the karma that made them devas was going to run out, and they'd have to be reborn if they didn't learn the dharma. So how does that work for us spiritually? Does it help arouse your conviction to know that the teachings of the Buddha actually exceed even just rebirth in a heaven realm? So, a heaven realm is a really good place to be. Everything's easy, everything's nice, everything's pleasant. And even that is impermanent. Even that will run out. It's kind of interesting to think about that way. Sometimes we think, oh, well, I've got life really good. Why do I need to do this stuff? Like I worked for a guy at one point who said, why are you a Buddhist? I said, it helps me with a lot of stuff. And, and he, what is this Buddhism stuff about? Well, who was the Buddha? Well, he wanted a way out of the cycle of birth and rebirth. He wanted a way out of the cycle of suffering. And the guy goes, oh, well, I don't need any of that. I don't suffer. And he did. He clearly did. I mean, I knew him fairly well. I could see when he got stressed, and I could see when he was worried about, things that were going on at work, and he got involved in politics, like company politics and all that kind of stuff. He created a fair amount of suffering for himself. He just decided it wasn't suffering. He's kind of oblivious to it. So you might think, well, there's people who are born in these heaven realms where everything is pleasant, and they never think about the fact that sooner or later that's going to run out. So even though you have things really good, sooner or later that's going to run out, and you're going to have to face some difficulty. So do you want to do something that prepares you for facing that difficulty? And then what is the strength of conscience? What time is it? I want to make sure I'm not spending too much time on these. So, and he says, so a monk feels shame at the thought of engaging in bodily misconduct. So shame, we don't really like this concept of shame, because in our culture, usually shame is used to sort of make us feel like bad people. And it's really not that. It's more recognizing that you have done something that ended badly, that wasn't compassionate, that wasn't grounded in wisdom, and so on. And so it's that sort of recognizing that and wanting not to do that again. That's the kind of shame. It's not shaming you. It's not, oh, look at how bad you are because of of what you did or whatever. It's recognizing, oh, I did something that really wasn't very skillful, and I don't want to do that. So let me see how I can not do that again in the future. And then concern, sort of related to that. The case where a disciple of the noble ones feels concern for the suffering that results from bodily misconduct, verbal misconduct, mental misconduct. So it's not just, oh, I did this thing that I vowed I wasn't going to do, for example, but I did this thing that I vowed I wasn't going to do, and look how it's potentially caused suffering for others. I told you this story about, I'm sure, about when I was practicing a whole lot with metta bhavana in order to try to overcome my tendency to get angry in certain circumstances, especially like when I was treated rudely in a retail situation. And I was at a department store, and the person ringing me up was very rude. And instead of, again, I've been working a lot with metta bhavana, cultivating goodwill for people in those circumstances. And so instead of getting angry, I recognized the suffering that she was experiencing. And so I responded to that with kindness. I didn't, not overly so. I didn't like have a big talk with her and, offer to help change her life or anything like that, which is nice to her instead of being rude to her. And I was thinking about that afterward, like what the potential is had I been rude to her, which would have been, so 6 months earlier would have probably been my response. And thinking how that, here's somebody who is having a bad time and people being rude to them, and the rudeness just makes the bad time worse. And they probably go on being rude to other people. So it just sort of increases the amount of suffering out there. So when you recognize that, and then you decide to act in a way that's in accordance with compassion, then that's what he's talking about with concern. And persistence. So he talks about keeping his persistence aroused for abandoning unskillful mental qualities and taking on skillful mental qualities. Steadfast, solid in his effort, not shirking duties with regard to mental qualities. So, compassion, for example, and goodwill. Recognize that, okay, good to see you here, Justice. And you're not behind. You're right where you need to be. So, yeah. Now, if you mean I've just tuned in to this and I'm watching this live stream that's how, 2/3 of the way over, that's okay. You can go back and watch from the beginning. but in terms of your practice, wherever you are, you're not behind. You're where you need to be. And so, keep at it. And this is what he's talking about here with persistence. Keeping your diligent, your desire to be diligent in process, and in the works. Koyo Kobose's favorite sort of mantra, his turning phrase was keep going. And that's exactly an exhortation to persistence. Sure, sometimes it's difficult. I might sit to meditate and my mind just jumps all over the place, and be a whole lot easier just to kind of sit there and wool gather for 20 minutes or whatever, or think about this thing that this person did that ticked me off, and letting my anger run away with me. I was talking at White Sands about the passions and trying to explain what the Buddha meant. We use this term that's often translated as passions, things that trap the mind. And so the persistence is to not be trapped. And if you let your mind be trapped, you work to get out of it. You don't just go, oh, well, here I am. I guess I'm just going to sit here and be angry, greedy, and delusional. No. Develop that. And then discernment. That's wisdom, basically. Understanding what causes suffering to arise, what causes it to pass away, what causes anything to arise, and what causes it to pass away. Being aware of cause and effect. That's discernment. Um, and that's not something that just kind of happens. It's something you develop. Yeah, good example, I guess. Well, going back to the thing in the department store, right? If I thought that happiness was being treated with respect and that I needed to be treated with respect in order to be happy, well, then, maybe I'd have been rude to her. But understanding that that's not what happiness is. Happiness is having goodwill, and being aware of that, and then reminding yourself of that, and then practicing on that basis. Right understanding and right intention. First two factors of the Eightfold Path mean what's going to go to a good way, and you resolve to live in a way that's going to take you in on a good path, in a good direction. And so that's right. That's the discernment that he's talking about, and that's something that you work at, something that you keep going doing. It takes persistence to do that also. So anyway, that's I kind of came across this while I was looking for something else this week, and I thought, well, I haven't talked about these for a while, and these are good concepts. So thank you for your attention to that. We have a few minutes left. Anyone have any questions? By the way, I have a question for you, if somebody can answer me. When I ring the bell, can you hear the bell? So the reason I asked this question is the weirdest thing has happened. Started happening about 2 weeks ago. We use Microsoft Teams at school, and I have a meditation group that meets on Wednesday mornings and meditates with me virtually by way of Microsoft Teams. And so last Wednesday, I rang the bell at the end of our designated time that we were going to meditate. Okay, good. Yeah. So I'll finish telling you the story. So I rang the bell, and everybody was still sitting there like this. And I thought, well, maybe I forgot to unmute. No, I'm unmuted. Well, maybe it hadn't finished unmuting, before I rang the bell. So I just kind of said something, and, everybody opened their eyes and came out of meditation. And so, okay, thank you, Marianne. Okay, good. So I thought it was just something with muting and unmuting or whatever, So today we same thing, and I rang the bell. I waited, 30 seconds or so, and rang the bell, and nobody heard it. And then I said, "Did you not hear the bell?" And so, no. And so I would ring the bell and I wouldn't hear the bell. So I'm thinking that maybe Teams is interpreting that as background noise, and the background noise filter is just taking it out, which is really inconvenient. I don't know how to overcome that. Anyway, that's why I was asking. I thought maybe it's something my computer was doing. But yeah, it must be it. It must be Teams. I've been using it the same way, doing the same thing for since COVID happened. Is we had a couple of meetings in person at school, and then COVID shut everything down. We went remote. So all this time, it's never been an issue till today. Anyway, yeah, it just seems odd that it just started happening, but whatever. I'll hit sticks together or something instead. Anyway, thank you for that. I thought it must have be something like that, Stephen. All right. So we'll do the great vows. Unless there's anything else. Is there anything else? Okay, guess not. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Enlightened ways unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Enlightened ways unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Creations are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Dharma gates are boundless. I vow to enter them. Enlightened ways unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. So I see a question came out while we're doing that. I'm not understanding your question, Stephen. Difference between what is now said and the content on the Volusia Buddhist Fellowship website. Is that what you're talking about? I probably missed something when I was updating it. And the other thing is, if you get information about us from meetup.com, to the content of the service. Yes. And that should be, the current one should be on the website. I know it, I'll check. Because so I send out, there's a link to the PDF on the email that I send out every week. And there's a link to the PDF on the website. I'll check and make sure that I've updated them both to make sure that they're the right one. Because I did do an update actually about the time we started meeting at the Drika building. And so it should have changed then. But I'll look and make sure that I'm sending out the right PDF in both of those places. Thank you for pointing that out. Anything else? Okay. And sorry, I didn't catch that before I started chanting. Yeah. Yes, I did. We did update the service at that time. So, and that should be the updated version. Should be what you're getting with the email, and should be what you're getting, what you see on the website. But like I said, I'll make sure. Anyway, and sorry I didn't see your question before I started chanting. There's a lag, probably a minute. So. Okay, friends, I respectfully remind you life and death are of supreme importance. Time swiftly passes by and opportunity is lost. Each of us must strive to awaken. Awaken, take heed, do not squander this life. Thank you all. And I will see you next Wednesday, if not before.